Salutations, my children. We are back with more reaction videos. It's been a minute, but we're back. Without further ado, let's get right into it.
When it comes to programming blocks, you'd be hard-pressed to find anything more iconic than Toonami. Not only is there nostalgia associated with it, but there is a legacy that truly spans some generations now that all have their own experiences with it. From the style and attitude that radiated from the bumpers and clips between programs, to the selection of programs themselves that brought you some of the coolest pieces of media. For over 25 years, Toonami has blessed the afternoon and late night scene for those interested in having an appreciation for Japanese animation. Much like finding so many new programs to get hooked on, Toonami had this ever-evolving feel to it that constantly brought more and more programs to the forefront for you to discover, while offering visuals and aesthetics that invoke both past and present. When you heard the hip-hop inspired beats mixed with the early CG visuals reminiscent of 80s sci-fi, you felt right at home knowing you're going to get some highly memorable experiences through the shows curated for the block. But most importantly, at least to me, was the full-on introduction to anime. I want to celebrate what Toonami has meant to me throughout my life growing up with it, and the programming that truly made it special. So let's take a ride on the Absolution as we look back through the history of Toonami, and see how this programming block rose, fell, and rose again.
Welcome aboard the Ghost Planet Spaceship Absolution. Later.
In the mid-90s, cartoons on TV were at a rising peak for kids across different channels, and kids everywhere were locked into what they were used to always watching. Cartoon Network was looking to add something to their programming lineup that would end up capturing a new audience and hopefully be of interest to those already on their channel. Entered Cartoon Network executive Mike Lazo, who was trying to jumpstart a new project for Cartoon Network that would be focused on action-based animation. He asked Sean Atkins to help aid in coming up with what this would be, as he would then grab his friend Jason DeMarco to fully plot this out. Both Sean and Jason were heavily in tune with the Japanese animation scene, watching and having a great appreciation for anime, as they wanted to pull from that to bring it to the forefront for Western audiences. Of course, this would be no easy feat to do, since pitching bringing over Japanese content that would be unfamiliar to most watching the channel isn't a guarantee of viewership for the network to passively greenlight. Mike Lazo, however, was on board with the vision and wanted to aid with a bit of familiarity that he could offer. Mike had already created a repurposed outlet for the Space Ghost property from Hanna-Barbera, turning it into the odd and fun Space Ghost Coast to Coast, a late night talk show that would be a cartoon aimed at adults that Cartoon Network would pick up as a show to place on their network for late night time slots, when the channel's target audience would most likely be asleep. Taking from this, Lazo and his production company Ghost Planet would begin building the design of Toonami by first bringing in the character of Moltar from the original Space Ghost cartoon, and gone is the villain status and his responsibilities on the Coast to Coast show, and welcomed in are his duties as hosting the first incarnation of the Toonami block, along with a sleek new CG look that fits the computer-generated vibe they were going for. But to help build what this vibe exactly is came down to Sean and Jason, who were trying to figure out this whole idea. And along came the introduction of another person in the story, Michael Cahill, who would be influential in working with them in these editing sessions of taking hip and newer music sounds, skateboarding clips, and untranslated anime that they would find through local video stores that would import them in to create a reel that encapsulates this moment in time that they're in. And boom, the vibe had been created, and the next thought was a host for the whole thing. Originally, to fit the tone, they were thinking that it'd be some sort of AI who accompanies a teenage girl, but the cost associated with this would be out of any allotted budget. So this is where the idea of bringing in Moltar fit perfectly. Much like Space Ghost Coast to Coast, Moltar was voiced by animator and voice actor Clay Martin Crocker. Together, over the next 3 quarters of the year, this group came together to create what they decided on being the combination of cartoon and Toonami.
I'll give you the tour later. Let's get back into it.
After so much time was spent finding the exact vibe, coming up with the perfect name, and being ready to launch this new action block of animation onto the world, the premiere of Toonami on St. Patrick's Day, March 17th, 1997 from 4 to 6 p.m. didn't release with the programming that Sean and Jason wanted to bring over. Many roadblocks stopped them from getting their requested shows to play during their new animation block, having access to one initial Japanese production, Voltron. But in saying that, this was the Voltron already already brought to the US and edited to suit a younger audience with a lot of original stuff cut from it. But this was a start. The network did give them their space to be creative in designing what this whole thing would be, but that doesn't mean it was just smooth sailing through the stars until miracles would happen. Instead, there were worries that each week could be their last week airing Toonami, as Sean would come back from meetings with a level of uncertainty from the higher-ups, with the ratings for Toonami being fine. Not great, just fine. Something was needed to really pull in the audience to prove that what they have is truly special, and that opportunity was just about to present itself the following year. After only having Thundercats, The Real Adventures of Johnny Quest, Voltron, and then Cartoon Roulette, featuring a bunch of older random cartoons being chosen in 1997, 1998 proved to be the year that things would start taking off. Having access to the original Super Friends and even Transformers Beast Wars was cool for sure, and even moving on to get Robotech helped out. But two programs in particular were about to change the attention Toonami was receiving. First was the English dubbed version of Sailor Moon, where it was already being played on another network owned by Turner, as it didn't get the viewership and ratings overall that it needed to continue over there on the USA network.
They had this show, I remember Sailor Moon being like a early morning show you could watch on UPN, but you had to wake up super fucking early just to watch it, bruh. I remember it, bruh. You had to wake up at like 5 o'clock in the morning just to watch Sailor Moon, bruh. Shit was weird, bruh. That shit was weird, bruh. 5 o'clock in the morning just to watch Sailor Moon? That's wild, bruh. For real, I remember it.
This led to Toonami being offered to be the new home for Sailor Moon, where it started to get the attention that the network needed to be able to push for more in order to grow. That summer, Sailor Moon helped bring in enough leverage for the Toonami crew to not just ask for, but heavily push for getting Dragon Ball Z to be added into the rotation.
That's what I'm talking about! That's why he's there, me! That's why he's the GOAT!
Y'all just don't know. When they brought Dragon Ball Z over,
oh my God! That's what I'm talking about! That's why he's there, me! That's why he's the GOAT!
Yep. Y'all just don't understand, bruh.
Oh my gosh.
Y'all just don't understand, bruh. Y'all just don't understand, bruh. And they brought Dragon Ball Z over, it was a wrap. You had to be there to understand. Some of y'all youngest just don't know, bro, about that OG Dragon Ball. Y'all just don't know.
Both Sean and Jason really wanted to get Dragon Ball Z. It was a show that Sean would wake up early to watch when he was younger, when it would be played only on a local channel, early in the mornings, as he had the thought that if he was doing this back then there were others like him doing the same. If they were able to make it more accessible for a Western audience to watch Dragon Ball Z, and play it at a time slot in the mid-afternoon on a highly watched network, as opposed to a random early morning time slot on a local channel, this would be huge. And they were right. This was huge, as in 1998, Japanese properties and Japanese animation were making their way over to the States, and kids as well as young adults were eating it up. The ratings would continue to go up and more people would be tuning into Toonami for a dose of action and, more importantly, a dose of anime. As we get into 1999, other shows like Reboot, The Powerpuff Girls, and Robin Warriors were added to the mix of programs that would be played. This created a healthy balance of shows from both regions being in this couple-hour mix. But Dragon Ball Z alone would bring in the eyes that the network loved to see, providing some of the highest viewed broadcasts that made Cartoon Network on a level of viewership more or less to Nickelodeon at the time. They even premiered movies on some Fridays, with the first being Batman Mask of the Phantasm. While not directly following the anime flow, that is a great movie and I think it fits the vibe. Toonami was hot and it was getting noticed. With some semi-edited versions of Dragon Ball Z movies being played, it began to expose another side of anime to Western audiences who were now invested. What we were receiving to watch on TV were not the original versions of the program. Now, Toonami began pushing some limits, but the key word here is limits. These were still not the uncut versions that are now known. The popularity of Dragon Ball Z, along with anime in general in the States at the time, garnered a level of credibility to this field of animation.
Only Toonami.
But now it's nearly the end of the decade, and in July of 1999, Toonami had a bit of a revamp, sunsetting Moltar and introducing a little robot fella named Tom, who was now voiced by Sonny Strait. Along with this, the setting of Toonami was now aboard this spacecraft called the Absolution, as the new host welcomed Toonami fans in with a brief introduction, calling this the brand new Toonami, but with the mission of staying the same with what to expect. Tom was there to usher us into the new millennium right around the corner, promising the same shows you already like and the same attitude to go along with it. Sean and Jason were beginning to both enjoy the success of their programming block, but also deal with the more forceful oversight from their higher-ups. Sure, companies like Bandai would hit them up looking to bring a new version of Gundam stateside, hoping that Toonami is the perfect place to springboard the program to fans, and that's great. But with this much attention, they would be forced to show certain other programs because while they may run Toonami, they don't own it. None of this was remotely bad enough in their back and forths to cause a rift, thankfully, and something great did happen, and that was the introduction of Midnight Run, which would play more uncensored and uncut versions of anime, making it a good alternative to still deliver the goods that people wanted in both formats.
That's what I'm talking about! That's why he's here, me! That's why he's
That Midnight Run Saturday nights. Y'all just don't know. Y'all just don't know. Shit is golden, nigga. I just don't know. Midnight Toonami hits different, nigga. I'm telling you, Midnight Toonami hit different. It's just a different vibe, bro. It feels more organic, bro. That midnight. Oh, you got to see blood. They would cuss sometimes, not all the time. They still made sure to censor it. Y'all don't understand, bro. This different, bro. It hit different, bro. Midnight Toonami hit different. And this was before Adult Swim. Once Adult Swim came in, Midnight Toonami was pretty much... Yeah, I can't be mad at it because Adult Swim is fire, but that Midnight Toonami, bro.
Toonami was being viewed as the spot to connect yourself for celebrating other forms of animation, but through multiple mediums, as they would even get the chance to work with Gorillaz and Daft Punk for their animated music videos, which clearly fit right in and played into the perfect midnight vibe run. Daft Punk even brought some of their music videos to premiere first on Toonami, and soon after, Gorillaz did the same thing. Today, both those names in music are extremely well known and largely celebrated, but back then, those levels of fame weren't there, and they saw Toonami as the direct place to help push their music and music videos out to a wider audience. This led to Toonami taking 1 hour of their midnight run block to be focused on introducing music in a way that wouldn't interfere with what their usual broadcasts would be, and keep the network happy since it wouldn't affect their ratings directly, being at the time that these would be shown. This was influential in the way that people would be discovering music at the time, and for a generation now growing up with the curations of art found through Toonami. There were people finding their own new tastes from it. Toonami was quickly becoming known as the tastemakers of the turn of the century. As we enter into the year 2000, the explosion of the brand would continue further. While you had stuff like Batman the Animated Series and Superman the Animated Series getting some love during the block, the explosion of anime was more prevalent than ever. G-Force Guardians of Space, a few Tenchi series, Blue Submarine No. 6, and Mobile Suit Gundam Wing would all join in on the broadcast slate. To upgrade the brand further, we got to experience the first ever TIE, or Total Immersion event, which would only focus on Tom and subsequently Sarah, voiced by Sally Timms, who was brought into the series during this first event here as this AI companion for Tom.
You know what? Come with me.
The first event premiered on September 18th, 2000, and was known as The Intruder, and snippets of the story aired throughout the week during the broadcast until the 22nd, where the finale to this TIE came to a close. Each part of the Intruder story ended with a password to play a flash game on the Toonami website, where you would try and save these other robots as well as yourself from being eaten by this intruder. Throughout the shorts, Tom and Sarah find themselves dealing with this mysterious intruder, having interactions with it, trying to stop it from eating up everything and destroying the ship. In part 4, we end on Tom screaming in pain while being consumed by this hungry blob, leading to the reveal in part 5 that Tom actually dies, and Sarah downloads him and places his data into a new, sleeker body called Tom 2. This taller Tom was now voiced by the iconic voice you may remember Tom for the most, Steve Bloom.
Yeah.
To add on to this event and get more crowd participation for those engaged with Toonami, there was a phone number listed on the next broadcast to vote for which new engine Tom 2 should get for their ship repairs, and a little over a month later, that decision was showcased, and a few weeks after that, the repairs were done, leaving a little piece of the intruder floating by as it says, "The end?" with a question mark. Toonami found a way to keep you engaged with a CG host that gets a really cool upgrade and listens to things that are viewer voted to change how they happen. Plus for now, Toonami received an extra hour for their programming block, running on weekdays from 4 to 7 PM now. They were all having fun trying new and different things with Toonami, and this event proved that if they were tasked to make something with the original character of Tom, given a budget and allowed to create a story with him, that they could do it. This leads us to 2001, where quite a few things happened for the Toonami brand. With more shows coming like Outlaw Star, The Big O, 3 Mobile Suit Gundam series, Batman Beyond, Zoid's New Century, Card Captors, and most importantly for them, Dragon Ball, as this would be a great way to introduce fans of Dragon Ball Z to the original Dragon Ball series that leads into it. The higher-ups wanted to expand Toonami out and bring it over to a special block on Kids WB, which caused the regular 4 to 7 PM block on Cartoon Network go to a 5 to 7 PM block, to allow time for the creation of this new channel block. In July of 2001, this new Toonami block would take over a bit of Kids WB, but had one specific flaw. The branding around Toonami works thanks to how greatly it's paired to the content that it houses, and for Kids WB, the anime aspect wasn't there as much. While sure, Pokemon fits the anime bill, it really was taking over time slots that could be used to showcase other programs. There would be glimpses of some other anime here and there, but the majority were cartoons like X-Men Evolution, Jackie Chan Adventures, Batman Beyond, and Scooby-Doo. They also tried to infuse the music aspect of Toonami by mashing up clips from several showcase shows like Card Captors or X-Men to create these odd music videos called Toonami tracks. While some of these shows could be classified as action, most of them leaned more towards the comedy aspect, and the audience could tell that something was off. This wasn't what they expected from Toonami, and this was becoming a problem for the networks to push other types of shows onto the Toonami brand. But while this was happening, the regular spot on Cartoon Network for Toonami was pushing strong. Come September, the second TIE titled Lockdown took place. This event was a lot bigger as it worked alongside a tie-in game called Lockdown as well, where each day a new part of the game unlocked that would tie into the story seen in the shorts of this event. This was another huge hit that included a sweepstakes sponsored by Nintendo in promotion for their new console, the GameCube. 300 winners would win a GameCube branded shirt, 150 winners would win a GameCube game, and 10 lucky winners would receive a GameCube along with 6 games. The mainstream attention of Toonami was there. The network knew this and the brands took notice. To get deals like this though, the Toonami team was told to make their brand bigger to propose the ideas of what you have to more brands, which led to the idea of this lockdown game in the first place, giving viewers a chance to feel like they are actively helping Tom out and are a part of the story taking place. It was genius as it asked the audience directly to have fun in a different medium instead of just voting on something arbitrary. Heading into 2002, the hits kept coming, with Hamtaro, Zoid's Chaotic Century, Mobile Fighter G Gundam, as well as playing episodes of He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, Transformers Armada, and G.I. Joe. But even more exciting, getting to show episodes of a newer Cartoon Network classic, Samurai Jack.
Yo!
This year, or Upside, whichever way you want to look at it, was the ending of the Kids WB version of Toonami. By the end of June, the block went away, and because of this, the main Toonami block on Cartoon Network received its extra hour back, returning to a 4 to 7 p.m. programming block. The next TIE took place, and another game and another sweepstakes with Nintendo happened as well. It was still for the GameCube, but mainly to promote Super Mario Sunshine. For 2003, the year started off great, getting to celebrate Giant Robot Week, where anime with giant mechs were at the front of the line with programming. Getting a chance for Toonami to air special showings of Neon Genesis Evangelion, Gigantor, Dai-Guard, Martian successor Nadesco, and even bringing back Robotech. This greatly introduced even more anime for those not in the know of some of them. Toonami's iconic hip-hop inspired beats were released on a special CD titled Toonami Deep Space Bass. Tom even got a bit of an upgrade, bringing him to Tom 3, an even more muscular designed version that can age up with the CG a bit. This was also a big year for the new add-ons for broadcast. Justice League, Star Wars Clone Wars, Cyborg 009 the Cyborg Soldier, Rurouni Kenshin, Yu Yu Hakusho, Superior Defender Gundam Force, Dot Hack Sign, and another Dragon Ball series with Dragon Ball GT coming into the mix. Whether you like it or hate it, that series was brought out on Toonami. Instead of having another regular TIE this year, they instead delivered an original segmented pilot miniseries for an anime that Sean and Jason produced with Production IG, called IGPX, or Immortal Grand Prix, which surely was different from what fans of Toonami were expecting, but seeing that the minds behind Toonami were doing this was pretty cool, even if a younger me had no clue that that was the case. But this specific TIE will play into something down the road. 2004 changed things up. Come April of that year, the weekday afternoons for Toonami were taken away and moved to a singular Saturday night slot that ran from 7 to 11 p.m. While the
that's when everybody started getting upset. Now, granted, I've said in the past that Cartoon Network is the go-to brand, and yes,
That's what I'm talking about! That's why he's there, me! That's why he's the GOAT! The GOAT!
Cartoon Network is still goated. But when they took Toonami away, I feel like they should have pushed Toonami back. I understand they had more cartoons they were trying to get out. And on top of that, they were still trying to do the cartoon thing. You know, with new episodes of Ed, Edd n Eddy, Camp Lazlo, Kids Next Door. I understand they had so many shows on that channel. And it was pumping out content left and right. You know what I'm saying? I understood it, but at the same time, there could have been a pushback. Or you could have moved it up slightly a little bit early, maybe 3 o'clock. You know what I'm saying? I understand they do it at 4 o'clock because they want to make sure all the kids are home. They don't want to start it when none of the kids are home. But at the same time, when they're not at home and they're still on the bus, arriving to home, I get it, but I mean, there could have been something worked out, man. There definitely could have been something worked out, man. The fact that they had to move it to only the weekends, they fucked it up, man. That's
Bruh.
That's when they started fucking it up, bro. Because it was like, now it's only on one day. And it's like, nah, bro. I like my Toonami when I come home, man. I like to come home to my Toonami, man. Fuck you mean?
somewhat similar but more toned down Maguzi block took its place. The move was made to follow the aging up of its audience, thinking that those who watch would prefer a late-night weekend production over an every weekday mid-afternoon one. Sarah received a new look now along with a new voice actress, Samantha Robson, and the newest programs this year were Duel Masters, Mobile Suit Gundam Seed, Justice League Unlimited, Transformers Energon, Astro Boy, Rave Master, Jackie Chan Adventures, Teen Titans, and Megas XLR. Over the next couple years, things were pretty much the same, having this special dedicated weekend block and adding plenty of new shows as 2005 brought us Dice, The Batman, the uncut version of Dragon Ball Z, Transformers Cybertron, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Zatch Bell, One Piece, Naruto, Bobobo, and the full version of IGPX after it was teased with that micro series back in 2003. So a nice offering of some well-known properties and helping start off a lot of kids in America's obsession with Naruto headbands. But also getting to see the uncut version of Dragon Ball Z was a big deal.
Yeah.
Cartoon Network allowed it thanks to its newer later runtime. 2006 brought us Woolen Warriors, The Prince of Tennis, Fantastic Four, World's Greatest Superheroes, Mar, Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, and both Pokemon Battle Frontier and Pokemon Chronicles. It wasn't until 2007 where things became interesting enough to bring up, as this would be the 10-year anniversary of Toonami starting. It was hyped up, and when the date came around to celebrate it, we were introduced to Tom 4, bringing along two other main robots hanging out with him, Flash, voiced by Dave Wittenberg, and D, voiced by Tom Kenny. The year didn't add much new to its already solid rotation of animation, only adding in Mega Man Star Force and Stormhawks, but the future seemed pretty great for the programming block. It even celebrated the anniversary with special movie premieres every week in March that year. But come 2008, this wouldn't be the case. With only a few more additions like Bakugan Battle Brawlers, Blue Dragon, and Ben 10 Alien Force, things seemed a bit off. The year was going by just fine, but on September 20th at a convention called Anime Week in Atlanta, Cartoon Network dropped the sad news that Toonami was officially going to end, pointing to low ratings being the cause. And literally, that same night, Toonami aired their final broadcast, with the end of it having a final farewell from Tom himself saying goodbye after 11 years, hoping you have made some unforgettable memories and to stay gold. And those words were held on to by everyone watching something so special from their childhood end so suddenly before their eyes. And just like that, Toonami was gone.
Until we meet again, stay gold.
Years went by, and Toonami did become this distant memory. But enter in Adult Swim, another programming block on Cartoon Network that would control the late night and early morning scene with teen and adult programs, making the clear cut at the end of the day when kid entertainment ends and when the older crowd can flip on the channel. Yep. Starting in the early 2000s as well, Adult Swim was conceived by Mike Lazo, as there is a connection here to leverage one programming block to bring back another. April Fool's Day for Adult Swim is always a night full of whatever weird they can come up with, and people enjoy the shenanigans that they pull, but this next one was different, as it could be pulling on heartstrings more than anything. On April 1st, 2012, Adult Swim just played a Toonami block consisting of Dragon Ball Z, Yu Yu Hakusho, and other classics that you would find on Toonami, full with the Toonami branding and everything. And as fun as this was to revisit Toonami, it wasn't just some joke to do so. In fact, it was a secret attempt to get people interested in bringing back Toonami. As social media was really becoming a staple part of everyday life, Adult Swim put the power onto the people to get their voices heard, saying on Twitter that if you want Toonami back, use the hashtag #BringBackToonami. People sure made their voices heard.
Facts.
When Sean and Jason became aware that the April Fool's joke was to play some old school Toonami, they got excited over the fact that this could be a way to revive the whole thing. And then they watched as the internet overnight exploded with support of Toonami. And with that, the hashtags wanting to bring it back. It was so demanded and so well received that literally the following week, bumpers on Adult Swim stated, "We're listening and we're looking into it." Cut to May 26, 2012, where Toonami was officially back and on the air, and with that, an onslaught of shows. Throughout 2012, the programming block had Bleach, Deadman Wonderland, Cowboy Bebop, Thundercats, Inuyasha, Casher and Sins, Samurai 7, Symbionic Titan, Eureka 7, Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, 2 Ghost in the Shell series, Tenchi Muyo GXP, and the uncut version of Naruto.
Yeah.
It was a fierce return, and the fans of Toonami ate it up, welcoming new fans to join in on it as well. Toonami even expanded to over 6 hours in October of that year, It was great all around. Coming into 2013, Tom 5 premiered along with a new but older look for Sarah, for her third variant voiced by Dana Swanson. Soul Eater, Fooly Cooly, The Big O2, Star Wars The Clone Wars, Sword Art Online, the return of IGPX, and even the uncut version of One Piece started to flood into the programming block. Movies like Akira and Summer Wars were played, and everything was rolling into 2014 in high swing with not only the announcement that a new TIE was in the works to come out the following year and be a sequel to the TIE Intruder, but even more shows were being added to the slate: Space Dandy, Blue Exorcist, 2 Black Lagoon series, Beware the Batman, Inuyasha the Final Act, Hellsing Ultimate, Gurren Lagann, Attack on Titan, Dragon Ball Z Kai Uncut, the original 4 seasons of Samurai Jack, and the uncut version of Naruto Shippuden. In 2015, however, Toonami was shrunk down a bit, now running from midnight to 3:30 a.m., but things were still okay. This year brought the return of TIEs, where we got the Intruder 2 that led to a new overall look for the block. It also led to the Absolution being destroyed and Sarah dying, but she was put into the computer system and now the programming block was hosted from the planet Shogo 162. Program-wise, we got the additions of Kill la Kill, Sword Art Online 2, Parasite the Maxim, Akame ga Kill, and Michiko and Hachin. For 2016, One Punch Man, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Mobile Suit Gundam, Iron-Blooded Orphans, Hunter x Hunter, Samurai Champloo, and Dimension W were the newest batch of shows, and for this year, the next TIE was announced at that year's Anime Expo, where it was surprisingly another part in the Intruder series titled Intruder 3. This led to them getting a new ship, the planet they were on being destroyed, and Sarah getting a new version of herself, this time with little wings. During this year, the broadcast time shifted to 11:30 p.m. to start, ending at 3 a.m., but this would be reversed a handful of months later anyway, so nothing really significant there. They did announce another new micro-series called The Sand Whale and Me to premiere in 2017, being a joint production of Adult Swim and Production IG, and directed by Mamoru Oshii. For 2017, the length of Toonami started to grow once again, at first getting to start at 11:30 p.m. once again, and then quickly earning that start time of 11 p.m., making the whole block 4.5 hours now. We also saw the addition of Dragon Ball Super, Mobile Suit Gundam Unicorn, 2 Tokyo Ghoul series, Black Clover, Dragon Ball Z Kai The Final Chapters, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Stardust Crusaders, Lupin the Third Part 4 The Italian Adventure, Outlaw Star, and a brand new revived Samurai Jack that returned for a final 5th season that was a bit more adult than the original series. There was another...
Yeah, that was the only reason I was watching Toonami back then, was just for Samurai Jack.
TIE titled The Countdown, where Tom gets brought to the future by his future self to help stop a corrupted version of Sarah, really building out more of the story that they have been making for Tom and Sarah as hosts of Toonami. As the year went on, more time slots were open to Toonami, but it wasn't until 2018 that it would truly get even bigger. The block earned more and more time slots on both ends, running from 9 p.m. to 4 a.m., making a solid 7 hours for Toonami to showcase all that it has. This was the peak moment of Toonami's return. After more than 5 years of being back, it has taken over once again, and has acquired the licenses to play way more anime than ever before. My Hero Academia, 2 different Fooly Cooly series, Pop Team Epic, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Diamond is Unbreakable, Mob Psycho 100, Megalobox, and Boruto Naruto The Next Generations joined Toonami in 2018 as well. As 2019 rolled around, Adult Swim was biting back some of its time, as Toonami shrunk back down a bit to 5 hours long, running from 11 p.m. to 4 a.m. now, but still having new shows like Sword Art Online Alicization, Lupin the Third Part 5 Misadventures in France, Fire Force, Genlock, Dr. Stone, The Promised Neverland, Food Wars, Mobile Suit Gundam, The Origin Advent of the Red Comet, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Golden Wind, and Demon Slayer. We got another TIE called The Forge, which is where Tom was created, and also killed again, bringing us Tom 6, thanks to Sarah using the Forge. And then Toonami got an extra half an hour back, running until 4:30 a.m. again. Entering into the 2020s, these time slots would constantly be played with, going up and down and up again, but it would roughly even itself out around being a 4-hour-long block from midnight to 4 a.m. From 2020 to present day of making this video, Toonami has continued to add more anime and other shows to their run, and things in general have been running as good as they always have. While there wasn't a TIE in 2020, 2021 had the next TIE titled Cosmo Samurai, and was advertised as a non-canonical event that featured the Toonami characters, and it was done in a full traditional anime style. This carried on for the 2022 TIE that had Cosmo Samurai 2, but right after that ended, the following weeks would air another TIE, this time titled The Return. This one was canonical and had Tom trying to come to terms with there being many Toms that exist. When a ghost from the past arrives, being the original Absolution spaceship that we know is being destroyed, as we see the original Sarah AI from 19 years ago glitched onto the screen, as the ship then gets shown to actually be from 250 years in the future, having more powerful capabilities to intergalactically travel, donning the new name of the GPS Absolution Mark 14, as we continue the Toonami broadcasts as usual. As of 2023, Toonami is still running stronger than ever, having new anime and other shows premiering all the time and just celebrating all that makes Toonami special. Over the years since its comeback, Toonami has been the main hub that is accessible to so many for new and old anime to be presented. It's not just the classics it embraces, but all the new stuff as well, which to some can feel like it takes away the nostalgia factor of it, but to others, this is their first exposure to a lot of this anime, much like it was to me and to a lot of you back in the day during Toonami's original run. And I think that feeling and those moments are special. Currently, Toonami still runs on Saturday nights from midnight to 4 AM, offering an ever-growing lineup of new and classic anime plus a whole lot more. It really is amazing to see quite the comeback for a programming block that originally was just meant to end and be a thing of the past, but through an April Fool's joke that really wasn't a joke, the fans made it possible for the network to actually listen and bring back Toonami, with more support than it ever received initially. It wasn't just the programs it played, it wasn't just the vibe that the host segments created. It was the all-around encompassing of different forms of media for you to discover. Sure, there was anime, which is a big part of it, but the music created for the show, along with the music played during the music video segments, really helped shape some new discovery within the various sounds out there. The video game reviews that would happen gave you your own little slice of G4 here, getting to see a showcase of many different video games and their reviews of them, mainly put together by Jason himself, and there was always some sort of sweepstakes going on to take place in, and it felt that Toonami was there for one thing and one thing only: you, the viewer, to have an experience, discovering new things to love and build lifelong memories from. Whether you first discovered Toonami during its original run, or found yourself getting into it because of its return, the same universal feelings of it can be shared by us all. Toonami was a crucial part of my childhood, and I thank it for introducing me to so much, from anime to some music, and even a few video games. I would love to know your experiences with Toonami as well. When did you discover it, and what did you discover from it? Tell me in the comments. As always, I've been Jordan Fringe. Thanks so much for watching. Like and subscribe. Later.
Hey, look, man, when it comes to when we talking about something that just, it means a lot. Toonami is one of the things that means a lot, bro.